Well, happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to the Flight Path Podcast. This is your one-stop shop for your Tern news, where we cover everything that we shipped this week. We give you an inside look into building a technology company for the travel industry, and of course, give you a little sneak peek on what's ahead. I am one of the hosts, David, CEO and co-founder, joined by Brad, our head of design, and Molly, our head of product. And as always, we have a great episode lined up for you today. Let's kick off. I think have like a little bit more breathing room on this podcast. The past few, we had jumped right in, straight to business because, we had so much to talk about. We do have a lot to talk about today, but we're going to bring back the week in review section. We're going to take a beat and just like, how was the week? And Brad, we're going to start with you. How was your week?
I didn't have a lot of breathing room for one, but that's okay. Things,
Aspirational.
I would like to say things have calmed down after the webinar and after, the user conference. But I think if anything, the team is feeling more energized than ever. Customers are more excited than ever, which means they want more things maybe than that we normally hear from. We gave our email to many people, so fielding a lot of specific product requests. Incredible week. I feel like the team is feeling very alive and energized. Me with them. Just have to find time to do all of the things. And it's a lot, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Amazing. And Molly, how are you doing? How's your week?
Yeah, kind of plus to it feeling like very energized and just really inspired coming out of the conference, the webinar. It's been an intense week because we kind of get through those things and pull our heads up, and it's like we have Q4 planning. We have a bunch of projects coming up that we're like a little bit more behind on getting them well planned because of the events and stuff. So yeah, just really trying to like get things back feeling like on the rails, very well planned, up and ahead on everything. But we have so many exciting things we're building, so it's been really fun. And then I always love these moments of like experiences talking to users during the week. I was on, for those of you who don't know, maybe you're a little newer to the podcast, Brad and I sometimes like moonlight as support, and we'll do new user office hours. So new advisors signing up for Tern can grab some live time to just like any questions that they have. And usually it's with our support team, but we like to kind of be in on some of these just to experience Tern through the eyes of someone brand new. And I was on a call with somebody yesterday, and it was like figuring out how to even like add a trip and add payment details and like publish it to her client. And it was like she just like that fear of getting started, and by the end we had this like beautiful itinerary with like all of the information to have a credit card ready, and like she was feeling like so inspired and excited. And I don't know, it's just like the best feeling. And I of course got some good product insights too on things we should make more intuitive. So yeah, it's those moments that I also just think are fun to take a step back from all the crazy goings on.
I love that. And I think it is like just so powerful, right? Like it's easy to get the blinders on, right? But by like forcing yourself to like sit down with like new users, and Brad was talking about the podcast doing something similar, and it's just like like when you're actually on the phone call, like seeing how they're using it, it's like both exciting and motivating, but also like, okay, like there's still like ways that we can make this feel more approachable.
Yeah.
I feel all of that. I think like this has been, the past couple of weeks really have been like exhausting, but also like so energizing as well. Just, I feel like probably building any business, right? A lot of people listening, like you're building a business, like there's days where like, you're like, oh my gosh, like nothing's working, and like you just got to keep going. And then there's moments where you're like, everything is like, we are unstoppable, everything's going right. Like it's just, and right now I feel like we're like one of those highs where it's just like looking at the like product pipeline for Q4, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like literally getting chills looking at some of these things. And then like you look at just like the number of new people coming into Tern, you look at some of the agencies that are planning to move over, you look at like just the team that we've built and like how fired they are about this like industry and solving these problems and seeing the impact of their work. And it's just like, yes. So that has just been really fun. I was in Alaska this week, which is wild. This is like just a crazy industry. It's like last week I was in Bermuda, this week I was in Alaska, and like it's just, I don't know what time zone I'm on, but that was cool. It was like the Future Leaders in Travel Conference. Like if you haven't looked that one up, that was like always one of our favorites. It's like a great group. I got to really kind of experience Alaska. Doing karaoke on the Alaska Railroad was like a core memory unlocked now. But yeah, just a special week. And again, meeting with users, meeting with people. Like one cool moment from this, and we'll move on to the actual product stuff. But like we were at the first sort of social event, which was at a ski resort 15 minutes outside of Anchorage. And, we're sitting there and we meet these like two people, and they're like, they came up to Grace and I, and they're like, you will not believe this. They're like, one of them was a co-pilot and a travel advisor. who had been working with the other one, and they like met for the first time in person at Future Leaders, and were so excited because they were like, yeah, like they've been helping build a business, and like they came up and they couldn't wait to tell us that they were like Tern users and like Lucia Copilot users. And it was just like one of those like surreal moments where it's like, yeah, okay, this is like really fun to see. So that was a highlight of the week among lots of good conversations and some cool experiences. But yeah, definitely feeling the time zone whiplash, which is part of the job. So let's move on. Let's get into what this podcast is all about, which is like what's new in the product, right? That's what folks care about. That's what we do. We build technology for all of you, and we've got some updates. So Brad, you're going to kick us off with some evolutions to the dashboard.
Yeah. I'm sure most people who listen to this are aware now that we have a brand new dashboard in Tern. We rolled it out at the users conference, talked about the webinar, and we knew from early on that, people have very different ways they run their business. They have different pieces of information they care about when they're thinking about kind of their home base, their dashboard for Tern. So I think we even said at the webinar, we just rolled out customization so you could turn on and off specific sections of the dashboard. And now we built another layer there where you can also turn on and off specific things within the calendar section of the dashboard. And so we knew that was going to be important. One of the first requests we got when we built the calendar weeks ago was like, hey, this is cool, but I don't actually care about XYZ information. So we brought that same kind of level of granularity over to the dashboard. And so now you can customize not only which sections, but also some details within the calendar section. And maybe just a reminder, keep the feedback coming. We're always listening to make sure that page, especially that like landing, jumping off page, is super relevant to what you need to run your business. Molly's email, just molly@tern.travel, keeps sending her more feedback on the dashboard. She loves it all.
Yeah, it is interesting where, because this is the new homepage for people, we are still getting like feedback around other things you want to customize, from like the look and feel to the ordering of the modules and stuff like that. And so it's definitely an area that will get a lot of love from us like throughout Q4, and we'll continue to tweak and optimize and give you more abilities to make it like feel like your homepage and your home base. So excited about that. I think my favorite dashboard feedback that I've gotten this week is I popped into Facebook, which I'm not like full on addicted like David, but I go there maybe too much. Like it tends to randomize my day. I'll like see stuff on Facebook. I'm like, oh, we gotta like, jump on this. I'm like, no, gotta be heads down on this product requirements doc. But I logged in and people were like talking about how they got this like really fun greeting anytime they landed on the dashboard. And it's like a motivating way to start your Tern day. And I was just thinking like, it was cool. I think Ursula came up with this idea, our wonderful designer, and like engineering executed on it. I didn't even really know it was happening. And it just like makes people's day a little bit more fun and special. And like I've experienced it too. Like I land on the dashboard and it's like, looking good, Molly. And I'm like, hell yeah, I am looking good. Like, there we go.
Well, you started the podcast being like, I'm not going to be here today. 8 minutes in, we're here again.
I was going to say, we're 8 minutes in and we...
Okay, sure. We're good.
Heck yeah, So, but it's sometimes those little things that can make like software that you're using feel like more approachable and friendly and fun. So I think engineering is even scheming up ways of having more creative greetings and stuff, which is cute. So I don't know, that was a little fun magic moment this week.
Yeah, it's like the personality.
I don't think so, but we absolutely should.
Yeah, there's just like so many fun, and it is like, it's just like a little personality, right? Where it's like, oh, this is like that surprise and delight moment. And I think I demoed it. Did I talk? Maybe it was a webinar or something. And I was like refreshing. I was like, this is like so cool. And like, this is such a good example of the team just doing this little like above and beyond things. And then I was like catching up on Slack afterwards and was like, did David just promise a different greeting every single time they log in? Like, we're going to need to get more greetings. Like, so I update, can't promise every time it will be different, but there are a lot of greetings and there may be even more coming soon. And yeah, hopefully just like a fun way to kind of start the day. I think like, yeah, dashboard's like so cool. Like it just was really fun. Again, at the Future Leaders, sort of like doing these demos and one-on-one appointments. And it just tells the story of what Tern is so much better than like, the trips page is still a surprise and delight moment. People love the board view. They love the imagery, but it's easy to look at that and be like, oh, Tern's just an itinerary builder. And like, when you come into the dashboard, it's like, oh, actually like, yes, we have your trips, we've got your payments, we've got your tasks, we've got like literally everything that you need to run your business in one place. And the dashboard just like tells that story. So it's been fun to see not only how is it making a difference in your actual day to day, but like when you tell the story to people who aren't using Tern yet, it like really brings that to life, which has been cool. But we have another pretty massive update. This will be like for people who care about this, like you really care about this. So Molly, talk about what's new in library land.
Yeah, so we had started to get some feedback that in particular agency owners, but a lot of folks just in general are trying to create lodging items that have many different room options available. So like there are some hotels that there's literally 80 different room types that you could possibly have for that hotel. You're not going to propose 80 different room types to your clients, but you want the option to pick from a handful, maybe 3 or 4, any given trip. And so agency owners were trying to like set these up as templates for their team so that they didn't have to like go and cross-reference and put those room types in any given time. But that involved then deleting the 75 different room options that you didn't want to use. And so that was like very, very clunky. We wanted to fix that. So I'm going to do a little demo here to show what this looks like now. And as David said, like, if you don't care about this and it's not relevant to you, nothing will actually change about your experience. So this is kind of like a option to use this.
Hold on. Wait, this is the first time this has ever happened. Ollie is sharing her screen on the podcast, and we didn't have the infinite screen. Like, this is a major growth moment that I just want to recognize. September 26, 2025, we have figured it out.
Okay. I actually was set up to have the bug up here with multiple tabs. And then I was like, you know what? I can do a few more clicks to not run into the bug. So I am learning. I am getting there.
Real progress. Leveling up every day.
Thank you for noticing, David. I really put some thought into that. Okay. So here we are at a lodging template in our library. If we go over to the rooms tab, this is where you set up your rooms. So if you're not familiar, you can set up as many different rooms as you want to either like add for your clients proactively or to convert it to room options so that your clients can select from whatever room they prefer. Now, if you go to an existing one that's already set up, you'll see this nice little checkbox is checked by default. So it will look like this normally. And the for those of you not able to watch, it says automatically add all rooms when adding this template to a trip. So by default, again, all of your lodging will just automatically add all of the rooms that you've set up to the trip. So you don't have to do a bunch of clicks to add those things if you don't want to. But if you're in that case of like 20 different rooms, 50 different rooms, and you want to be able to more easily pick from the relevant rooms, all you have to do is uncheck this box under template settings in the rooms tab. And then we're going to navigate over to a trip and you'll see this in action. So if we go to our itinerary, we drag in this lodging template. Let's add this to the trip. I'm clicking into this lodging item that I've now added to my trip, and I'm going to navigate back over to the rooms tab. You'll see no rooms have been automatically added because I had deselected that setting. Now I see this little select from template option when I go to add rooms, and you'll see the rooms that I had pre-configured are available in this nice little consolidated modal, so I can more easily choose from them. So let's add this 1-bedroom suite. I can do select from template again. I can add the 1-bedroom queen. I can keep going as many rooms as I want to, but I'm not having to mass delete, 75 different rooms manually here. And that's it.
So cool. Yeah, I mean, just makes it like so much easier. And like they said, for those people that are building out all these and reusing over and over again, like it is now much, much easier to be able to like not have 70 things that you have to delete. So you can actually like select it. And like you can add media, you can add the descriptions, like you can really build that out once and reuse it in whatever way makes sense for your business. I'm just excited to think about like how we can continue to evolve. Amazing. Big library updates. A lot of people are going to be really excited about that. We've also been working on quite a few quality of life updates. And so we are now entering and bringing back, it's been a little while since we had this dedicated section, but quality of life with Brad.
We really missed the opportunity in the webinar that some of the hackathon features were kind of quality of life vibes. You really could have had a live quality of life moment.
Ooh, we could have played the little intro. We haven't had the theme song in a while, but we could bring that in the webinar, or maybe next time.
Part is that for people who hadn't watched historical podcasts, you just doing quality of life like that has got to be like so weird. Like I don't think they're putting that together. There used to be There was a fun joke theme song. I don't know. I feel like there's too much history here to really get into.
You've got to go back and listen to all of the podcasts and find it. Use those numbers a bit. But one of the things we actually changed, so one of the changes we made was basically addressing some feedback we got. It was like, hey, when I'm looking at a page that has a table on it, there's a little pagination button at the bottom where I can pick like which page of results I want to go to. If I want to go to the next result, I'd love to be able to actually click on that button, but there's this like blue little chatbot option that's hanging out there, and I have no way of getting to the arrow to like click to the next page. So, that little chatbot is, of course, how we manage support. It's very important. We can't just remove it. So instead, what we did is on as many pages as we could find where we have a table at the bottom, we added some extra space down there so you can just scroll right past that little chatbot widget, and now you should much more easily be able to access that pagination without having to jump through any hoops or do anything weird. If there's any pages we missed, we have to do them all individually. Please let us know. We can of course, make this change pretty easily on any page, but that should, just make you it should be easier to just do the thing that seems so obvious and was kind of annoying with that little widget hanging out. And then the other quality of life change we made was we reordered some of the sections on the contact view to basically be more relevant to what matters most to you for a contact. The number of people who emailed me saying, why is addresses at the bottom of the contact list when the rest of their contact information at the top? I was like, I didn't design it. It was here before I got here. I don't actually know. I agree with you. I will fix it. So we finally made that fix. We moved addresses up. Then we also moved the section with passport details up, just because we know those are probably the things you want to reference most often. Everything else is still there, just a little lower on the page.
Wow. I'm going to miss that hidden button. We could have just told people it's like a surprise, like you know what's there. But no, I think that's both of those are major upgrades. And Molly, you have actually, you're kind of like weaseling your way into this section here.
Let Brad scroll through the whole thing. So yeah, this one was an interesting case we basically missed when we implemented these new agency requirements. For those of you who don't know, if you're an agency owner or administrator, you have a set of financial settings that you can access in your settings. And you can do things like require certain fields to be completed on a booking in order for your agents to mark those things as booked for then commission reconciliation and payout. And one of those things that you can require is that they filled in a confirmation, a commission amount. So the commission amount is greater than 0. But a case that we missed was they can also mark things as not commissionable. So if something's not commissionable, you may actually still want that item to be able to be marked as booked, but the commission amount is not going to be greater than 0. And so we basically just added an exception so that your agents can still submit those things as booked for your visibility, but that in that case, if they've marked it as not commissionable, the commission amount can be 0.
Right. And it's like they have to explicitly take an action to say, no, I really do want to submit this booking with $0 commission versus I just forgot to fill that out and I'm sending it.
Yeah, exactly.
Very exciting. Any other updates in quality of life? Otherwise, we have a pretty big thing that we need to talk about for kind of what's ahead, a pretty major improvement to document management. I think we're probably good. Brad, do you want to just kind of kick that off?
Yeah. So this is another one of these changes that I think has been on my plate. I think we've had a card to fix it since the day I joined, which is now almost 2 years ago. But we finally got there, and we're making some changes to the way that we handle documents being added on activities and how they're represented on activities and trips. So maybe just to give a lay of the land of what we have today. You, of course, can add documents at the trip level on the Documents tab on the trip, and those things are visible to your travelers when they're looking at the itinerary. You can also add documents on an individual activity, and you can make those things visible to travelers if they're looking at that specific activity. And then there was a third place you could add documents, which was in this receipts and documents section, which were never visible to travelers and were just kind of like their own little orphan thing off to the side. And people are often like, wait, where am I supposed to put it? I want this receipt visible to my travelers. How do I do that? It says receipts over here, but am I supposed to use that, or am I supposed to ignore it and actually add documents to the activity or the trip so they could actually see them? And we heard a lot of feedback. And so we're making some changes to basically consolidate all these things so that it's more intuitive, and I think it just works the way you'd expect. So the major change we're making is on documents and maybe there's 2 major changes. The first one, that little documents and receipts section, there'll still be a button there to add a receipt. But when you add a receipt from there, it'll get added to actually the total list of documents on that activity instead of this separate documents and receipts, or wow, confirmations and receipts section. So that will be there. There's still like an easy way to add a receipt from the booking and pricing tab, but it'll actually get added to the activity documents, and you'll be able to say whether you want that visible to travelers. So no more like, wait, is this visible? Is this not? Where do I add it? You can still add it from there, but it'll all end up in the same place on the list of documents on the activity. And for the first time, anything you add to the list of documents on an activity will also now be visible on the documents tab for the trips. So if you're looking at the trip, you'll see a list of all documents, whether you've added them generically at the trip level or to a specific activity. And then similar to your travelers, if they're looking at the overall kind of like top level documents for their trip, they'll see everything you added at that top level and everything you added at an individual activity level, including a label that shows which activity it's associated with. So really excited about like, I'm maybe making it sound more complicated than it is, but I think it will feel much simpler in real life once you're able to do it this way.
Because like it used to be, I mean, just you said this right, but like, okay, I've got a receipt. Do I click on the booking and pricing tab and then scroll down and put it under the like receipt next to the confirmation number? But then like nobody can see that. I can't find it unless I go back to all those steps. And it's like now there's just you click on documents, you see the documents, right? And if you like, and it makes sense with the hierarchy of the trip. If you click on documents at the trip level, you see every document associated with that trip. If you click on documents on the activity level, you see every document with that activity. Like it just makes so much more sense than like scouring the trip to find this. And people were working around this by basically double uploading documents, Molly, and you're going to talk about that.
Yeah. So I think we're really excited about this change, but there is some like what we call like change management involved that we want to make sure advisors are aware of. And I think Grace is going to be having a note in her marketing email that she says on a weekly basis too, to give people the heads up. So maybe 2 quick notes. The first is that nothing is going to change about visibility. So if you have a document on the activity level, it's only visible to yourself. It's not going to like suddenly show up to your travelers. Like we're not changing any of that. I think the one change that Brad noted is that when you actually like add a receipt, since it's going in the activity documents now, you can actually choose if you want to make that visible to travelers, but nothing will be like suddenly visible to travelers that they didn't see before. However, we know that some advisors are basically double uploading documents. And what I mean by that is since we don't show activity documents at the trip level, they're saying, okay, there's this like receipt for scuba diving, which is for some reason always my go-to. There's just a receipt for scuba diving. I'm going to add it to the activity and I'm also going to add it to the trip. And so now that we're fixing this issue and it will be auto added to the trip, that scuba diving receipt will show up twice. And so that's why we're proactively letting you know that when this change rolls out, like if you've been doing that, if you have active trips and you want to clean some of that up, you can then go through and kind of remove that like duplicated document that you've added at the trip level because it will now show up just automatically.
It's not like a major deal if you don't. Your travelers will just see the same document in there twice. It's not, again, it shouldn't be too confusing for them, but if that's important to you, we want to give you a heads up so you can clean it up.
So nice. Like just better document management. Like it's amazing how many documents people upload it makes sense, right? Like we say that out loud and you're like, yeah, obviously they're uploading the confirmations and the receipts and all the things, but like you actually look at the number of documents that are uploaded to Tern and it's like kind of mind blowing. It's pretty cool. Okay. So we're in the sort of like what's next week ahead section. We have some other major things. We released on the webinar an update to the kind of payment model. I've seen chatter on Facebook too, people being like, some trips I see the payment tab, some people I don't see the payment tab. And we explained this in the webinar, right? That we're taking a very methodical approach to like, okay, for new trips, this is available today. And then there's kind of a rollout plan for how this starts to really cover everything. And soon, I'll hand it over to Molly to talk about exactly when like we're actually taking the next step there. So do you want to kind of share some details there, Molly?
Yeah. So we have we've been doing a very, very tight beta of an initial set of folks who are moving their trips over one by one. That started yesterday. So far, so good. There's no like major issues that we've uncovered there. So it's looking good that early next week for everybody, you will be able to go into your trip. If it's on the old payment model, you'll see a very clear banner on the overview tab of that trip, which is right where you land on any given trip, to basically say, yes, I would like to upgrade this trip to the new model. That might take a little bit of time depending on how big your trip is. but you will then immediately see kind of the new payments model on that trip that you've upgraded. You don't even have to like republish it to your clients. I noticed like it'll still maybe blink red, the publish button, but like you don't actually have to do that in order for it all just to instantly work. We don't want you to have to manually upgrade every single historical trip that you've worked on to do that. Like David said, we're going through like a few different stages here. So after a week or two, however long it takes us to get like really comfortable that we've made sure every single edge case is covered, we will automatically migrate, all of your past trips to the new model. So you're not having to do that manually. And then we also we'll kind of be sharing additional guidance for some of that like manual conversion. We recommend basically doing it for a couple of your historical trips first, poking around, making sure things look good before you start doing active trips. And then if you notice anything off, even like small things, emailing support right away so we can look into it. We can make sure that, there's no issues. We can address anything that's come up. We would love to get those reports to make sure that we're handling, again, anything with payments we want to treat with like extra caution and care.
And like, echoing the point you just mentioned there at the end, right? Like some things we just like feel very, very comfortable. It's like relatively low stakes. We can test them very thoroughly. And so like we just roll it out, right? But then there's just this like family of things where the stakes are so high that like we'd much rather take a more methodical approach. And that's exactly what we're outlining here. Like step one was if it's a new trip, we feel really good that that's just going to work. We then did a bunch of work to say, okay, how do you migrate the sort of underlying data model for payments to this new model? And how do you make sure that works? And payments, as we've talked about on the podcast so many times, are like wildly complex. Like it doesn't seem that complex when you're just looking at the payment tab, but like the number of calculations that are happening behind the scenes, the number of different permutations there are, like it is kind of mind-blowing. I think it's actually one of the things that makes Tern so special when you look at like the online booking page for groups and things like that. But like to make that happen is really hard. And so we've done extensive testing on this. We're expecting that for pretty much every case that when you convert that between those models, like it'll just work. You should feel comfortable with like what's new and what's different. Like we're expecting, but because there's like so many different possible permutations, we'd rather have you review that just to make sure everything looks good and immediately flag it in case you see something, than take the risk of just like bulk migrating. We'll get a bunch of data. We'll be like, okay, we now feel like comfortable that we've like covered any possible edge cases, and then we can start to bulk migrate. So again, just like part of the podcast is like bringing people behind the scenes of our thinking. And so that's how we're doing it for this specific feature. But more broadly, we sort of have this like for everything that we're rolling out, every kind of data model change, those types of things, we're having this conversation around is like, what's the risk profile? Like how confident are we? Those types of things. And we like adapt our strategy based on that. So
yeah. One other thing that's kind of cool, I think we've talked on this podcast before about some of the editor migration that we've done and a few of the incidents that happened related to that. And like we did full team retrospectives basically on like what are all of the things that we could have done differently to make sure that like, we're not losing any data. And we've kind of gone into that extensively. And one of the things that came out of that retro is actually there should probably be a period between everything new has it and we fully migrate to do more of this like manual one-off conversion. And that's exactly what we did with this. And I'm really excited to see kind of the results of these learnings, basically like leveling up on some of these like mass migrations of data. So just cool to see the team kind of reflecting on that and improving how we work.
I think I think people listen to the podcast care. The one other thing we did this time that I don't think we did a super great job with the editor is giving our beta testers some more explicit instructions about like, here's really what we want you to pay attention to. Like, can you please look closely? Like look for these types of trips where something might be weird, where we might have missed it. Like flag even the small things. Cause like we had beta testing for the editor, but like what we found actually was just like people maybe weren't going through it with a fine tooth comb and they're like, oh yeah, it looks good enough. But like, we don't want good enough. We want like, no, this is perfect. The migration is exactly the way we want.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't remember the exact thing, but I do feel like there was like one of the like gotchas with the editor. We went back and a couple of, like I saw that. It was like some weird thing, but I just like assumed like it was okay. Where it's like, no, it's like not okay. Like and so I think that we talked in the webinar, we shared this in the past, like that is like one of our like 3 primary core values is that we're always leveling up. And it is kind of fun to think about just the time horizon here, right? I mean, like it was a month ago, I think that we like, maybe not even that we rolled out the last major editor thing. And we're now in the midst of another major data model. And it's already like, yep, we've taken all the learnings from that, systematized it, implemented it. Like it is really fun to actually see that lived in such quick kind of proximity time-wise. Let's talk about something else that people are going to be pretty stoked about. Brad, we're changing We're adding some functionality to deposits. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I had 2 user calls yesterday with folks who both wanted help with their group trips. And I was like, we show you all the things. And then they're like, so I have all these different room types we just set up. How do I put the deposit amount for each of the rooms and the occupancy rates? And I'm like, well, today you can't. And like, maybe there's workarounds and it's clunky. And like, well, but for now, for the first time, I'd be like, wait, just like, if you can wait 4 days, 5 days, early next week, there will be a field for each when you're doing room options. And if you have different occupancy rates, for each occupancy rate, for each room, you'll be able to put in what both the deposit amount is for that room and the total price. And this is going to save people tons of time and workarounds. And basically, you'll be able to put that in when you're setting it up. When your clients pick a room, we'll automatically show the right deposit amount that they then need to authorize in kind of like the checkout flow. It'll show on their client pricing tab. All of your records will be updated with the right deposit, and you don't need to do any more weird workarounds or like manual work to go update those after people sign up. So I think people are going to be super hype about this, and can't wait to get it out.
It's like a $5,000 room cost and a $2,000 room cost doesn't have the same deposit. Like, wow, that's like mind blowing. Right?
Okay, sometimes it does. Don't be too sarcastic.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does.
Where it does, but yeah, not all.
Sometimes it doesn't. But I think, this actually is like a perfect tie-in, right, to what we were talking about, the pricing data model, right? Like in some ways, we're actually making that even more complex and having more possible like variations of like, you could have one deposit for everything. You could have variable deposit, but I think, this is just going to make those sort of online checkout flows even more usable.
And speaking of that, it will be available on the new payment model only. So, right? I'm not lying about that, Brad.
That's true. But again, we'll have the ability to upgrade. So if it's not available, you'll be able to be like, boom, upgrade my trip. Okay, I can see the deposits now.
For sure. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. If you're like, if we tell you it's rolled out and you're like, wait a second, no, I'm not it's probably because you haven't converted the trip yet. So you want to convert it and then you'll be
amazing. Lots of big stuff.
I know. I just wanted to just do a very quick note of like, I promise the agency version of the dashboard is coming. We are officially writing code for it. It might not ship by the podcast next week, but definitely for the following week. So that is like in progress. It's something I'm deep in, and we're doing a lot of planning and like iteration with engineering on. So that is also coming very soon.
And we'll obviously share more when that ships, right? But like I know we talked about it at the user conference. I can't remember how much we talked about it in the webinar, but like you'll have basically the toggle between the two, right? Like you'll have like if you're an agency owner, you'll have your dashboard if you're selling travel actively, and then you can toggle over and you'll see a different set of views that kind of give you that same dashboard experience, but just looking across your agency. So stay tuned for that. As you can see, like we're back in it, right? Like we had the webinar, we had the big launch, like there's a lot going on, a lot of big updates, and it's going to be a pretty epic kind of last quarter of 2025. We've got a lot planned. And I'll do a quick plug. Like, if you were not at the user conference, you did not see the 2030 vision kind of presentation that we did. I think we shared this last week, but that was, I think, like kind of, certainly for me, it was like a surprise hit. Like, we wanted to kind of share this, but like the number of people that came up to me afterwards were like, I need my agency owner to see this. I need your advisors to see this. Like, I want to share this with people. Like, that's why we decided to actually host this. So if you go to our website right now, Tern.travel, you actually see a little pop-up come up where you can register from that. There's also like a little banner at the top that'll let you register. It's at the end of October. I think it's like the 21st or something like that. So I wanted to give a quick plug for that. And then we'll do another product launch webinar in November. Date to be determined, but just so you kind of know kind of what our fall schedule looks like. We'll do sort of big event at the end of October, really around like what's our 5-year vision. And then in November, you can expect another one of our, kind of big product update webinars with details forthcoming. As always, like, thank you for tuning in to FlightPath, your one-stop shop for kind of the behind-the-scenes look at what goes into building Tern. I can't remember if I said this at the beginning, but if you've made it this far and you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Go ahead and click the like button, add a comment. It helps other people find it. The algorithms are really good at knowing who else is a travel advisor like you or kind of in the travel space, and that tells it that it's valuable. So we appreciate the kind of support there. We appreciate the support in the feedback you give and being a Tern user, and together we're doing something special. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thanks all.